The workers have spoken. They're looking for safer conditions inside those facilities. We're looking at staffing issues, making sure that they didn't get stuck on mandatory overtime on their days off, making sure that they're not working 16, 24-hour shifts. The HALT Act, of course, we need to make some changes to that to make sure that there are safer conditions inside these facilities. Those are the two biggest issues that I am hearing about. I know there was a quote-unquote laundry list from some other places in the state, but those are what we should be concentrating on, and we need to come to a resolution on this as soon as possible.
The governor talked this week about understanding how hard a job working in corrections is and acknowledging that there are staffing shortages that she says the state is working to address. But did it surprise you to hear her say that she didn't know what the issues are that led to the corrections officers walking off the job? Yes,
because myself, along with a lot of people, have been talking about these safety issues. This just didn't come, it's at a boiling point now. We've been talking about it for years now, that with the implementation of HALT, it's made those facilities and unsafe. We can talk about staff assaults, we can talk about inmate on inmate assaults that have grown increasingly in the past couple of years. So what this has brought it to the forefront in the public's mind, but many of us have known about these issues for many years now.
Along with the staffing shortages, the union says the talks have focused on the HALT Act. The Corrections Commissioner has suspended portions of the law during the strike. A good first step to build on, or does it have to be a full repeal or nothing else?
Well, I think we certainly need to make changes. We need to make changes in the disciplinary system to hold individuals that are assaulting staff, doing wrong in those facilities, to hold them responsible for it. We need a working order within the facilities. That comes along with making sure that our staff feels safe and the incarcerated feel safe within those facilities. I hear from inmates as well. They feel unsafe with these disciplinary changes. So we need to recreate a disciplinary system inside these facilities.
You're a former corrections officer. You have been pushing for months now to repeal the HALT Act, calling on the governor and docs to address this. What's been their response?
Well, I think we need to make these changes, and now is the time to do it. Obviously, with these prison protests, hopefully we're getting somewhere where we can make those changes now. It shouldn't have come to this. We have workers inside those facilities right now that haven't seen their families in 10 or 11 days. We have other workers that say, quite frankly, we feel unsafe inside these facilities, and the changes have to happen to make sure we have continuity within the system. Talk about recruiting, we talk about bringing in more staff. This will help with recruiting and retention, making these changes and making these facilities safer for all involved.
The HALT Act was passed by you and your fellow Democrats in the Assembly.
Not passed by me. I voted no on it.
You voted no, but your fellow Democrats passed it in both the Assembly and the State Senate. What are your party leaders and committee chairs saying about addressing this? Many have said that they think the evidence is there that severely limiting solitary confinement makes prisons safer for inmates and staff. Do you think there's a willingness on their part to make changes?
Well, I would say that we have the numbers that say it doesn't make the facilities safe. The numbers are clearly there. Docs will admit they have the numbers. They know that staff assaults, that inmate on inmate assaults have increased in the past couple of years. So that would be my counter to that. Also, we hear from the incarcerated in there that they don't feel safe. We need to keep pushing upon them that the numbers don't lie. that certainly we can make steps to make these facilities safer for everyone inside those facilities.
Is there a willingness on the part of Democrats?
There should be.
Governor Hochul's out with her 30-day amendments to her $252 billion budget. And once again, she's asking the legislature to allow her to close up to 5 more state prisons. She argues consolidating prisons will allow more resources to go to address issues within corrections. You disagree?
Well, I feel that closing correctional facilities does not do anything to address the safety issues. We've closed several around the state in the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years. It has not led to the staffing issues being resolved. It has not led to safety issues within our facilities being resolved. So I don't buy that argument.
When this was announced this past week, you asked the governor to reconsider. You think it's a mistake to close more?
I do, because, and certainly when we have everything going on right now, to propose this in the 30-day amendment, I don't think it does good for talks. I don't think it does good for the morale of our correction officers or our staff. Staff, civilians will be affected by this as well. So I think it's the timing. For me, the timing is never good when we're talking about it, but the timing right now certainly did not help things.
You have 6 prisons in your district. No hit list yet. Which prisons or how many may be targeted?
Usually, what we have seen in the past, it goes through the budget process. If it gets passed in the budget, then they make that decision, and then there's 90 days after that.
The governor's also adding language to her proposed budget that would codify into law the state's policy requiring body cameras be worn by corrections officers at state prisons. Do you support that? Should COs be wearing body cams?
Well, let's take a look at that. I mean, there are fixed cameras on, and there should be, on certain areas of the facility. There's been some issues with the body cameras, I will say. People, COs not knowing whether they're on or off. We need to correct some of these issues before that as well.
There are those that say, though, after the beating death of Robert Brooks at Marcy, that they should be mandatory.
I will say, COs. Tom, what happened to Robert Brooks was horrible. It shouldn't have happened. That should never happen within our facilities, within any of our state facilities, certainly not our correctional facilities. Should be condemned, in just an awful, awful situation. Those people will face the consequences and should, but we need to come up with a policy that works for all.
President Trump announced at his first cabinet meeting this week that the tariffs he's threatening to impose on Canada would be delayed for another month until April, to give Canada another month to see if they can improve their border security, and if that'll be enough to convince the president to hold off on the 25% tariffs. Then on Thursday, the president did a reversal and said the tariffs will begin next week. Is that disappointing for you and others who have been speaking out against the tariffs?
Of course, it's disappointing. As you know, I am against tariffs. We depend here in the North Country on a lot of Canadian goods. We have manufacturers here. We have suppliers here that supply our small businesses with a lot of goods. Think about it, 52% of our energy that we use comes from Canada, in our country, more so here in the North Country. And to propose these tariffs, all it's going to do is hurt businesses, and in the end, hurt our residents, because they're going to end up paying more. And then, our Canadian friends are going to reciprocate and put tariffs on goods going in there, which they don't want to, but they feel they have to. And it creates for bad relations, and it creates for bad economies on both sides of the border, because our economies are so integral here.
Are we already seeing Canadians not visiting the United States, canceling vacations, not making shopping trips down here? Are we already feeling the impact
I don't know how much we're feeling it right now, but we certainly will feel it. In talking to, I'm the chair of the New York Canada Task Force, one of the first in the United States actually. And one of the good things that have come out of that are I've had my colleagues from around the state that may not have known, what a significant impact this would have on their districts around the state. We've taken trips to Canada with my colleagues. They realize the impact that it will have. And when we had the Consul General down, as well as representatives from Quebec and Ontario, Nova Scotia, down to Albany to have multiple discussions, 2-day discussions, talking to our people. The one thing that I heard from them is that they feel that this is an unprovoked attack from America onto Canada. And that was real, it's a real feeling that Canadians feel. Why are we doing this? Why would we do this? It's going to hurt both of us. And we need to see this resolved.
Billy Jones, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.